Hey family, hope all is well. Glad to have you back on the channel again. And I'm always excited to have you on this journey with me as we co-work together. I'm glad to be on your journey, with you as you continue to build your business, your ministry, your nonprofit, that special project you have on your heart and mind to do. And I'm just super thankful that you invited me to be part of that process. So I wanted to talk briefly about some things you want to think about when you're preparing for a stakeholder meeting. This is something that is vital because as you're building your business and as you are thinking about, what's going to happen in your business in the coming days, weeks, months, and years, you will inevitably meet with stakeholders and you will start that journey of engaging with them to talk about your business and what your business represents. This is this is this is something that's going to happen for you, right? And stakeholders, as is defined, are folks who have a vested interest in your success. So it's not just people who wish you well. It's people who might want to do business with you. People who care about the work that you do. They care about the why behind your work. They care about the industry or the methodology you use, or there's something about your business and the work you do that has their antennas up that says, I want to be a part of this and I want to know what's happening so I can support you by way of funding or financing or contract opportunities. It could also be by way of legislation. It could be by way of introductions and relationships being formed, or you being introduced to certain people that can help advance and push the agenda forward. It could be a bunch of reasons why. But it is important for you to understand that stakeholder meetings are constantly going to take place, and you're going to have to find your comfort level with them because people want to meet the person behind the brand, the business, the concept, the proposal, and that's you. That's you, the one who's doing the great work, the one who's building this for a reimagined future, the one who's serving the right now needs and the future needs of customers. So you got to be thoughtful about how you engage stakeholders and how you prepare for those meetings. So just have 4 quick points here to help you think about how to prepare for your stakeholder meetings. The first thing to think about is you got to know your audience. You got to be thoughtful about who you are talking to. Why are you talking to this person? Why is this person or people group or stakeholder group essential to this conversation, to this moment in time in your business? If you're not sure who you're talking to and why, you're kind of going into a meeting blind, and it defeats the purpose altogether. Your goal is to not create difficulty for those who are interested in seeing you succeed. The goal is for you to understand them so that the conversation can go a whole lot smoother, so that folks can know that they're talking to somebody who can move the needle in a significant way. If you're just taking up space and having a meeting with people, and it's not necessarily going to lead to somewhere, it's not a fruitful use of time for you or for them. So in order to move these conversations forward in a positive way, you got to know your audience. So you got to know who they are, their background, where they come from, why do they care, why should they care about the work that you're doing, and tell them something that they don't know about the tie between their interest, their history, their background, and what you have going on. That can sway a lot of decisions. It also builds relationships and connections in ways that you might not have considered or noticed or thought about before. So knowing your audience is key. I had a meeting with someone, and this person is an important, really important person in an area where I live. But in the middle of the conversation, I brought up some of this person's previous work before they got to where they are. And I identified that when you were here, you did this and you launched this initiative. And this initiative is very similar to something that we are launching as well because we know it works. You proved that it worked. And you brought this into your new role, which is a very important role. and you are seeing the dividends pay off, we want to see that mature in our space in a very similar way. How can we leverage that? What can we learn from you? How can we communicate to you what's working, what's not working, and how to make this thing better just overall? Gotta tell you, that moment in the conversation, it caused a major pivot, or a reasonable pivot, a pivot that showed we know who we're talking to. And we're not just quoting the quotables. We're not just quoting, things that's public consumption that, oh, well, I know this person that knows you. I'm talking about something that may have been under the radar concept or thing that nobody really cares about. But because you and I are having this conversation, I really care about it. I know you care about it because you took the time to launch it. You brought it forward to your new place. And it's a thing that's still working. And we have every intention of utilizing it, partnering with it, working with it, and building our own version of it in our company, in our organization, right? So when I talk about knowing your audience, I'm talking about things that they care about. Now, there are other pieces that you can know about your audience, such as what their kids like to do, right? Places that they vacation recently, like their personal things. This person, you may have things in common in terms of leisure activities. That stuff is great too. But then there has to be some sort of connection to the business of what's at hand and where you guys overlap as well, because most folks spend most of their day doing business, working more than they do doing leisure things or spending time with their children. So when you're trying to tap into their psyche and their thought process, has to be tied to something that they are doing the majority of the day. So know your audience. Second thing, you got to prep your talking points. You got to know what you're there to sell and to offer and to use as a point or guide of conversation. If you're going in there just willy-nilly and no notes, no outline, no nothing, you've lost the conversation already. You might as well just not show up. You might as well cancel the meeting. So you got to have talking points prepped, whether it's in a full outline mode, whether it's a full paragraph or narrative mode, whether it's presentation style, whatever works for you, have something prepped. And if I can go the extra step here and go the extra mile, you might want to have something that's prepped to the point that you can print and share. Now, we're in the digital age by far, like we're deep into this. And digital things matter. I'm an iPad guy. I'm a tech guy. I'm a no paper guy. But I got to tell you, even though I'm all teched out and I'm all about like no paper and just keep it digital, there is something about being able to bring a piece of paper with the outline of what we're discussing already printed, organized, and prepped for you. And I can just control the room by handing out this document or pages or portfolio and asking folks to turn to page 6, where they can pull out their pen and they can mark up this piece of paper and write on it real time. Now, yes, there's always a digital version available. Yes, we'll make it available and send it out via email. But in the meeting, when you're trying to keep the attention on what the topic is, or maybe you're trying to keep the attention on your business or build attention on your business or build attention on your team or other stakeholders or other things that are important, you got to take advantage of the time real estate available to you. Use this. Think about this, right? It may not be a frequent thing you do where you print something out and you have images and infographics and words and whatnot on a piece of paper, but consider that when you're meeting with stakeholders, because this may be the thing that turns the tide. Now, some may say, I'll do a lot of my stakeholder meetings virtually. That's great too. So put something together that can be shown on screen. But I am an advocate for coffee. I'm an advocate, and coffee represents a cheap date, but coffee also represents the opportunity for us to be in person, for us to do this, whatever this is, to negotiate, to plan, to get to know each other, just to be in person, to de-ice the situation. Now, we may have an initial coffee meeting, but we may do everything else virtually. But when I get the opportunity to meet you in person, and I get to pay for the coffee, and I get to disarm you and bring comfort to myself so that we can start to build this connection and relationship, it happens in person. I'm going to sell you guys on this. This is key. In-person conversations can be transformational for your business. And so when you get the privilege of meeting with a stakeholder partner, someone who's going to be a supporter of yours, take advantage of an in-person meeting, preferably over coffee. And if you can, bring something printed out that you can hand out, whether it's a full presentation deck, whether it's an infographic, whether it's a postcard with just the workflow, what you got going on, whether it's something. The other thing that happens when you bring talking points that are prepared, that document, it stays behind even after you have physically left. So there are things on my desk that somebody's left behind that even though I may have followed up on this thing and I may have done my job and connected the dots with this person, but several weeks have gone by and something might have slipped my mind, but I'm looking over here and I see, oh yeah, I got to call so-and-so about this. It is a physical representation of don't forget me. It is having something printed out is the equivalent of being a billboard on a highway that someone drives by every day, twice a day, 5 days a week. That's the best this represents. It is as close as you're going to get to having a physical marketing, messaging, branding reminder that Dr. Clark was here. He spent time with me and he put the time to put this together. I have it in email and I looked at it and I forwarded it. I actually saved it in my cloud drive, but the physical thing, sometimes people take a while to throw things away. If you can get 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks of runtime, of visibility of this piece of paper in front of somebody, you're winning. Now that is a throwback to my real estate days when I used to wholesale real estate. The idea of what marketing and messaging and branding did and what it represented, it was all about FaceTime. And I got to tell you, talking points printed out, ready to go, not only for the benefit of you having a conversation that makes sense and that flows well, but also branding material that's being left behind. Big deal. Big deal. Third point, when appropriate, bring support with you. When appropriate, bring support with you. So what I'm talking about, it could be a business partner, it could be a colleague, it could be a stakeholder that can tie the gap or bridge the gap between you and this other person. So a good example would be you know who you're meeting with, but they don't know you and you don't know them intimately. So a third party who may know both parties or who's met the other party more than you have or before you have could be an open door. And it could be a way of de-icing the situation for you if you're a little uncomfortable and bridging the gap for them if they don't know you and they just need to know that you're a trusted person or credible person or somebody that can fill in the gaps. Don't be ashamed to ask for support. That means that in order for this to make sense and to work, for you to bring support, the person you bring has to be somebody who is well connected, who is well adjusted, who knows what's going on with you, who knows what's going on with the person you're trying to meet, who is a key player in both you all's lives, both you all's business life. Some way, somehow. It doesn't have to be deep ties, but it has to be a tie that is easily recognizable by both parties, you and the other person. That, oh, yeah, I know so-and-so. Hey, yeah, that makes sense. Right? So bring support where it makes sense. And then lastly, this is a goodie, but it is important. And this is something that ought to serve you well. Let's see. That first point was to know your audience. Second point was to have your talking points prepared and preferably a printed piece of material. Third point is bring support with you. Fourth and final point is listen more than you talk. Listen more than you talk. You got to listen more, right? So this is not saying go mute in the meetings, right? But the way you do this, this goes back to our second point about talking points. You do this by not only having your talking points prepared because this allows you to sound intelligent, right? But you also utilize your talking points to ask questions, right? Questions that ties together concepts, questions that generate conversation, questions that gets people going around vision, questions that helps people talk about themselves, right? And what they've done. People love talking about themselves. And when I say that, I don't think I'm thinking about it in a vain sense. But when people talk about themselves, particularly when it's a newer relationship, they're talking about something that brings comfort. They're talking about something that they are familiar with, that they can pontificate on for an extended period of time. When they are comfortable because you've asked questions that allows them to talk about themselves, or what they know, what they've done. It allows the conversation to go in a direction of connection, right? So that means that they start to share things that you didn't know, right? They start to share ideas, concepts, right? And here's something they start to share. I said this earlier, vision, right? When they start to share vision because they're talking about themselves, what they've done in the past, they start to share vision. That means that you're starting to hear what they think about the future. And as they start to think, articulate what they view about the future, you're listening to understand how you can help and how you can add value, right? So they're circulating this vision. They're talking about the future. You're listening so that you can learn how to help and add value, because the value you're adding as you look to talk about your business, your nonprofit, your ministry, etc., is what am I doing right now that can help that vision come to a reality sooner rather than later, right? And also, am I working on something in my vision that actually is running parallel or connected to their vision that can help both of us, if we partner together, accelerate movement? Can we accelerate movement together? This is the benefit of like having these stakeholder conversations, because there are people who are working on things that are very much parallel to you, but their way of working on it is from a different angle. So you may be meeting with somebody who is a legislator, and they're working on the very same thing your business works on, but from a legislative perspective. That legislative support can be everything. Maybe there's somebody funding such work, right? And they're working on identifying resources that can support businesses like yours, or buy services from businesses like yours. And you haven't gotten there yet because you're still developing the product or the service. That parallel work that's happening at the same time can be game changing. Just had a meeting, a separate meeting, right? Talking about this very thing. How can we have parallel tracks going with two different stakeholder groups that collides and meets at a destined location, date and time, and where we can reevaluate where we are and set the course for the next phase of the work? This is huge. This is huge. This is something that is awesome, but it is transformational in your business. And if you're uncomfortable meeting with stakeholders, you got to find your pathway there. You got to figure out how you can get yourself in that place of comfort to meet with, talk with, and engage with stakeholders. Listen, I this stuff gets me going just thinking about it, because I'm thinking about two different meetings that took place today. And in both cases, again, meeting with stakeholders to talk about, again, knowing my audience. I know who I'm talking to. Number 2, talking points prepared. Did that for both. 3, I brought support to one meeting. I didn't bring support to the other. But 4, what happened with both is that I was listening to them speak, and they spoke more than I spoke. I listened more than I spoke, and I was able to hear what they thought about the right now and the future. And I began to attach myself to their future, because I'm working on some things that make sense for them, and then some things that were unbaked ideas. I'm like, oh my goodness, if we combine this and we bring this together and bring some other people together, oh yeah. Where I was stuck, I can now see a pathway of becoming unstuck, and it will benefit them and them and them and them and them and me as well. Stakeholders, it changes everything. Folks, I hope this helps. I hope you start to think about this differently as you start to build your business, because it is essential for you as you consider what's coming down the pike for your business, as you're thinking about the future of your business. And stay tuned. Continue to plug into this channel, because good stuff is here. Good stuff is coming. Prepare for these stakeholder meetings, as they are going to come down the pike for you this year. As opportunities come and doors open up, be prepared for these stakeholder meetings. It's going to make a difference. Going to change gears, change things in your business, change things in your nonprofit, in your ministry. And I'm looking forward in the comments, right below in the comments, hearing what's changing, what's growing, what's building, what's evolving in your business. Hope this helps. This is Clark. See you next time, guys. Peace.